Welcome back in live to another episode of Rock Boys Football. 2022 NFL draft season is upon us. We've been working through our position rankings, mainly touching on the offensive line, but today, probably the episode I'm most excited for, we're touching upon the wide receivers. We're doing our top 5 wide receiver prospects in a really loaded wide receiver class. I mean, we've seen some really good wide receiver classes the last couple of years. I think this one has the potential to be just as good. These guys are freak athletes. I think there's 5 guys who are locks to go in the first round. And it's a really deep and fun class. And we're just going to get talking about the top 5 prospects that we have on our board. I'm going to kick it off to Dill. Dill, who's your number 1 prospect on your board right now?
So for me, I still think Olave. I think he gets no respect for what he's done for really 3 straight years at Ohio State. Been a really key contributor to an awesome offense and never makes mistakes, doesn't drop balls. Seems like honestly one of the smoothest players I've ever seen, just in terms of how he runs. Everything looks effortless, and so yeah, I think he deserves way more respect. I feel like everybody's kind of poo-poos him for Wilson, but God, I think Olave is so good.
So what I see with I agree. I think I have Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave as my top 2 prospects. Olave's got some burners too, like straight line speed. I know Joe Scott, who's with us today, he's a Buckeyes fan, scumbag. But like you've seen these guys firsthand. Like, what do you see in Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson? How do you determine those 2 as prospects?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're splitting hairs with them in terms of who you think's better as a
really
prospect. But I'd give Wilson the slight edge. I think he's a better overall athlete. He doesn't have maybe the top end speed. I think he probably runs somewhere in the 4.5s, I'm guessing. But he's just got that insane short area quickness. And even though he had a couple focus drops, but he also has ridiculous hands and body control. So I think, Olave might be the smoother route runner down the field, but I think he works great, against his own defense, finding the holes in the zone on the inside in the pros.
And when I watched Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and kind of why I have Garrett Wilson edging out Chris Olave, and I just say it as it's like an it factor. He's got like that freakishly good ball skills. He went up and just mossed. Was it Vinny Gray against the Michigan?
They both did. It's like they both did it. One to Vinny, one to DJ. I think on the other side.
But I see like Garrett Wilson makes more of those plays where you're just like, wow, this kid's a freak.
That's fair. And he is in what Joe said. He's like the body control is incredible and how he is able to make like circus catches. I mean, I remember as a freshman, that one he made against Clemson in it was either a semifinal or a title game. Like that's one of just one of those like, ooh, you kind of remember those catches.
I think it's like Odell Beckham, like, to be honest. Like it's like it's just an it factor. That kind of when you're splitting hairs like that, I'm gonna go with Garrett Wilson, who just kind of shows that flash. I think he has the ability to be a top 10
I know, but the perfection of Olave.
Olave is the best route runner in the class.
God, it's just like there's no mistakes. It's just it feels like watching him against like the Big Ten teams. It's just been perfect for 3 years.
Yeah.
I wonder if Olave, I'm hoping someone can fix him in a Will Fuller type role where he's running consistent routes down the field, sort of a secondary receiver to an already established number 1. I think he would be just awesome in that role.
Maybe as a rookie, but I see Chris Olave as potentially being a number 1 too. And I think he runs like Will Fuller is definitely like a downfield threat, but the route running ability and the ability to get separation for Chris Olave, I think is just at such a high level. Perfectionist route runner. So, I mean, you're really, I kind of agree with what you guys are both saying. Splitting hairs, Chris Olave, probably the cleaner route runner. Garrett Wilson, disgusting ceiling. That's kind of why I have Garrett Wilson edging him out. All right, so this number 3, and I think Joe Scott, we've talked. You love Jameson Williams. I want to hear a little bit about what you see in Jameson Williams because I am not sold on this kid yet.
Well, okay, I'm surprised to hear you say that. I mean, I agree. He kind of came out of nowhere. Someone might see him as a one-year wonder type thing.
He transferred
think
out
the
of Ohio
biggest-
State because he couldn't play over those two cats.
I wasn't going to say it, but you said it, not me. But here's the thing is at the NFL level, I mean, in years where we've seen Henry Ruggs go 12, I think it's that elite top end speed, elite athleticism. And the fact that, I mean, he was not supposed to be wide receiver 1 at Alabama. John Mechie was really supposed to have that role. Yeah. And he came in and within 4 games, he was clearly the number 1 target. Yeah. And we've even seen, like, he's not just an outside threat either. He's actually in these recent games, especially against Cincinnati, he was operating on the inside and was showing what he could do there, which maybe needs some work, but I think he's got a super high ceiling, and I think he runs high 4.3s and blows up the combine.
He's gonna fly.
The problem with Jay is he has no respect for speed. It's like, speed. What does that matter? Speed, like, dude, when you have like top end speed that's as good as anyone, that matters. And also, he's not like he's like a scrub in every other aspect. He's like,
no.
For me, he catches the ball. He can convert his go from catch to sprinting very quickly.
He's smooth.
Makes a lot of big plays doing it, and like that matters. I know those big plays are very helpful.
It was like that post in the middle of the field
against Georgia. Yeah,
and just outran the safety, Christopher Smith, to the edge. Kind of like Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy used to kind of do that. My problem with Jameson Williams is I feel like he relies on that top end speed too much. Like if that's the only thing that you can win with, we've seen guys, they struggle in the NFL when they rely on their speed exclusively to win. To Joe's point though, against Cincinnati, he showed he's not just a burner. Kobe Bryant and Ahmad Gardner, they do a great job, obviously, 2 phenomenal cornerbacks. Jameson Williams showed that he can win with underneath routes, creating separation there and from the slot. So he definitely rose up my board a little bit, or how I think of him. I don't know if he passed. I had him at 3 behind Garrett Wilson and Olave. I still have him at 3. That being said, he did show a little bit more of his game against Cincinnati. I think that was a great point Joe made.
He also is an excellent special teams guy. I think he can be a very good kick and punt returner.
I don't know why the hell they have him playing gunner, dude. That's freaking ridiculous.
Oh yeah, the gunner.
Receiver playing gunner gets kicked out of the game for targeting.
And the final thing is, I think I also think he's a very good deep ball catcher. Like he doesn't have a problem catching contested on deeper throws, and I think you saw it once in the Georgia game, and again, I think he's a little more complete than you think he is. I think he does have good hands. I guess, though, I don't know. We just see him open all the time in Alabama, so I don't know.
So I guess to your point about Henry Ruggs going that high, first wide receiver taken, right? He was over CD and Jerry. Foolish. Like, if you were to ask those coaches, would you pick him again? They'd say no way, because I think Henry Ruggs was too reliant on just winning with speed and didn't show enough that he can win other ways. And if you only win with speed, you're capped a little bit at the next level. That being said, Jameson Williams did show that potential to not just win with speed, which was what you kind of want to look for there. All right. Yeah. Moving on to the last 2 prospects, the bigger boys, the big dogs who do we all have them 4 and 5 depending on order, or do we have Burks, London up in the top 3?
No,
4 and 5. I agree. It's almost like a tier 1A and then like a tier 1B. Definitely better than like the Jahan Dotson guys at 6 through 7, 8, 9. But they're both, also phenomenal prospects. Dill, who do you have between Treylon Burks, Drake London?
So for me, I think Treylon Burks is the better pro prospect. And I know, Drake London he does do the contested catch, like that is his game, and he does it well. But Treylon Burks, I think, is more complete. I think you did see him show the potential to play as a bigger bodied wide out, make contested catches. But I also think what Treylon Burks has that Drake London isn't even in the ballpark of what Treylon Burks can do is the ability to accelerate and run with the ball. Like that's just
run with the ball. I'd push back.
Drake
London's
take those
a dog after the catch.
Yeah, but what Treylon Burks did was taking those
that's true.
Short routes and converting.
Those flat ones.
Catch right to speed and getting to the corners, kind of like how Devontae Smith used to look when he just beating people to the edge and getting there and making big plays. No, exactly. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think with Drake London just isn't even close in that respect is my problem in terms of that.
Joe, who do you have? Who do you have between these two?
Yeah, I think I'm with Dylan. I give the slight edge to Burks. Unfortunately for you, I mean, I see some of the concerns. Yeah, he's a contested catch guy, and that makes you nervous about him separating at the next level. But he actually is a little faster than I think I gave him credit for, at least coming into the season. I mean, and he showed it against Alabama big time and the offense was virtually running through him. Knew where it was going, and no one could stop him. Yeah, he can't stop on a dime like a Chris Olave.
Yeah.
But I think in the right system, I wonder if a team like New England maybe looks at him, or maybe the Chargers if Mike Williams walks. I think he could be a good replacement there.
I mean, Drake London, again, just like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks and Drake London are very close to me. What pushed Drake London over the top is he separated a little bit better than I gave him credit for once I got into watching him and how he won. Treylon Burks is interesting because I think he could be like a DK Metcalf, like a Chase Claypool, when you have that big size, but also just run a stupid 40 for that size. I think Treylon Burks could run mid 4.4s, which is freakishly fast for being 6'3", 230. And so like you don't see that size and speed combo very often. Treylon Burks has it. What Joe said, not being able to start up, slow down, create separation, stop on a dime. You don't necessarily see that. It's not necessarily part of his game. But if you're that big and that fast, you're hard to cover. And we've seen guys like DK. He had a bad shuttle, but I mean, like, who gives a crap about a crazy shuttle when like you're that fast and that big and strong? And at the end of the day, that's Treylon Burks for you. And so I won't push back too much about Treylon Burks. And what you said, the offense just ran through that dude. You look at those stats, it's like he's at 1,000+ receiving yards. And then like the next guy, I was watching some this morning of him, and KJ Jefferson would literally just like try to look off the safety and then just lob it to Treylon Burks. And just like that was their offense. And yeah, he's a freak. So let's finish up with our last prospect here, Drake London. I was low on Drake London early. I just saw like, oh, he's a freak contested catch. So like when you're that one-dimensional, we've seen guys come in who are like, oh, they're really good contested catchers. Well, when you put on like elite DBs with good size, like a Jalen Ramsey, and you can't separate from them, hard to win. That being said, I wasn't giving Drake London nearly enough credit for, one, he can run routes pretty well for that size. Two, I said it before, he's a freak after the catch. Really hard. He reminded me of Travis Kelce running after the catch. I mean, guys are just
he's like, a tank. That's fair. Like people do struggle to tackle him for whatever reason, and I mean, obviously the size doesn't hurt. But problem with me with that is Drake London, I think, or at least when you're comparing him to Burks, I think they both have similar skill sets in the contested catch realm. I don't think Drake London like kills him in that.
Yeah.
But again, he does lack that top end athleticism that I think most of the times you prefer to see it in
I worry about the speed.
NFL prospects.
I worry about the speed because everyone's comparing him to like Mike Evans, but Mike Evans ran like
he can fly.
He ran a really good 40 coming out of Texas A&M. I'm gonna actually look it up real quick. But I don't know.
Well, the Evans comp, yeah, I agree. It is tough because that is what made him so dangerous. Is not like, yeah, he's big, but yeah, when he can get going, he can fly. So
yeah, the one thing I'm concerned about is that he actually wasn't on the outside hardly at all.
That is true.
Really in that offense, which you wouldn't expect from a guy who's 6'5", but maybe he can have like Marquise Colson sort of thing going where he's a bigger guy that wins maybe after the catch on the inside. I'm not really sure what his exact role is going to be at the NFL level.
And that's also tough when you're thinking about like projecting these guys. Rondell Moore was a guy like that last year where it's like, okay, he's super fast, very good with the ball. and the Cardinals just haven't really figured out what his role is in that offense. And if it's not obvious what your role is going to be in it, Jalen Reagor's like another guy. They just it hasn't quite figured out like how are you going to win? Like what are you going to use to win against NFL level talent? If you have questions about that, then that's a great reason to drop him on your boards. And maybe that's why he's coming in at 5th for us.
I mean, it is hard like to say, but obviously the production was unbelievable.
So, yeah, crazy.
In a weak offense, frankly. Like when he was gone, they were to the real dive.
And you have to just mention his injury, broke his ankle. I don't know. If
that's not a wildly concerning injury, at least. I feel like that's not something.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, yeah, that's true. But like when you worry about a guy's like speed, which is I think the biggest thing, he might not be able to run a 40, so he won't be able to answer those questions. Like if you're a 4.6 guy, like that's tough. That's definitely gonna hold you
and
back.
it certainly doesn't look like it's gonna be a.
He doesn't play that fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a solid ranking. Honestly, we agreed on most of the thing. Garrett Wilson and Olave, I mean, you could throw Jameson Williams in there. I'm definitely a little bit lower on him than you two are, but.
Well, I think it is like a little. I mean, they did beat him out at Ohio State, and those coaches know him better than anyone.
Yeah, that's true. But then he's also just shoving it in the Ohio State coaches' faces right now, because he's having a phenomenal.
But it's not like Wilson and Olave are like bad. So
yeah, and Jackson Smith and Jigba might just be like he would probably be right up there with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. Ohio State is quickly becoming wide receiver U, as much as I hate to say it, and I'm like all over these Ohio State wide receivers. Kind of makes me want to puke. But I mean, they're like just pumping guys out. I mean, you saw a bunch of young guys in the Rose Bowl just step up. It was, I wonder if Julian Fleming transfers, but that's neither here or there. Yeah, that's a good list, though. You think he's gone? Yeah, it's gonna be.
If I were him, I'd leave.
Me too. I agree. It's just too deep of a room. Yeah, that's a good review on our top 5. So next week we'll be back with kind of the tier 2 guys, the Jahan Dotsons, the David Bells, Sky Moore, who's a guy who's rising up draft boards pretty quickly. Again, thank you guys. John Mechie, potentially. I heard he might stay.
Really?
But
that's crazy.
That's what I heard. Joe Scott, appreciate you having you on.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Stuff. This was a blast. And we'll be back later this week with more episodes. So stay tuned. Appreciate you guys hanging in there with us. Peace.